John Martinez yawned and took another sip of his cold coffee. The clock on the wall showed 2:37 a.m., and the night shift at NASA's Deep Space Network facility in California was as quiet as usual. John had been working here for 7 years, and most nights were the same, monitoring signals from distant space probes, making small adjustments to the giant radio dishes, and fighting to stay awake. Tonight, John was testing a new receiver system designed to pick up the incredibly faint signals from the old Voyager probes that had left our solar system decades ago. It was routine work: point the dish, calibrate the system, record the data, repeat. Another exciting night in the glamorous world of deep space communications, John muttered to himself as he adjusted some settings on his computer. The large screen in front of him showed waves of static and occasional spikes, normal background noise from space. John was about to start another calibration cycle when something caught his eye, a pattern in the noise. Something repeating. John sat up straight, suddenly wide awake. He checked the equipment. Everything was working correctly. He changed the frequency slightly. The pattern disappeared. He changed it back. The pattern returned. That's not right, John said to himself. He ran a quick diagnostic. No equipment problems. No interference from Earth sources. The pattern was coming from deep space. John recorded the signal and ran it through some basic analysis software. The computer confirmed what his eyes had seen. There was a definite pattern, not random noise. It appeared to be some kind of digital signal, but unlike anything in NASA's database. John picked up the phone and called his supervisor, Dr. Patricia Williams, at her home. It was late, but this couldn't wait. Pat, it's John. I'm sorry to wake you, but I've found something you need to see. 30 minutes later, Dr. Williams stood behind John, staring at the screen with a mixture of disbelief and excitement. You've checked for all possible Earth sources? She asked. 3 times, John replied. It's not ours. It's not from any known satellite or space probe. And it's definitely not natural. Dr. Williams nodded slowly. Keep recording. I'll get approval to dedicate more dish time to this frequency. And John, keep this quiet for now. Over the next week, John and Dr. Williams gathered more data. The signal appeared for about 40 minutes every 26 hours. It always had the same basic pattern, but with variations that suggested it contained information, like a language or a code. Dr. Williams brought in Lisa Goodman, a linguist who specialized in mathematical communication systems and had the highest security clearance. Lisa spent 3 days analyzing the signal before calling a meeting with John and Dr. Williams. It's definitely communication, Lisa said, pointing to charts and graphs spread across the conference room table. 2 distinct sources talking to each other. The pattern suggests a language based on mathematical principles. Can you decode it? Dr. Williams asked. Lisa shook her head. Not yet, but I know someone who might help. Alan Nguyen. He developed some advanced algorithms for the NSA. With your permission, I'd like to bring him in. Dr. Williams made some calls, and within days, Alan arrived at the facility. He and Lisa worked non-stop, feeding the signals into powerful computers and refining their decoding algorithms. The breakthrough came on day 5. Alan burst into the observation room where John was monitoring another signal appearance. We got something, Alan said, his face flushed with excitement. It's just fragments, but it's definitely a message. They gathered in the conference room. Again, as Alan displayed the first partially decoded transmission on the large screen. Human expansion, unacceptable risk, Confederation interests, containment protocols inadequate, recommending immediate solution. Protocol 7. The room fell silent. Are we sure about this translation? Dr. Williams finally asked. Alan nodded. The math checks out. There's a 97% confidence level on these fragments. We're still working on the rest. They're talking about us, John said quietly. Humans, Lisa nodded. And whatever this solution protocol 7 feed is, it doesn't sound good. Dr. Williams picked up the secure phone in the conference room. I need to speak with the director immediately. This goes all the way to the top. Within 48 hours, the small NASA facility became the center of intense activity. Military personnel arrived. New equipment was installed. Security was tightened to the highest level. Colonel Samantha Rodriguez, a stern-faced woman in her 40s with intelligence service background, took charge of what was now called Project Lighthouse. "Ladies and gentlemen," she addressed the expanded team, "what you have discovered appears to be communications between non-Earth entities discussing some form of action against our planet. Your job is to intercept and decode as much of this communication as possible. More specialists arrive daily." The computer systems were upgraded. The team worked around the clock in shifts. 2 weeks after John's initial discovery, they had their first fully decoded conversation. "Central Command to Observation Post 6. Report status on Sol 3 monitoring. Observation Post 6 to Central Command. Sol 3 indigenous species continues rapid technological advancement. Estimate Stage 4 within 50 years, possibly sooner. Expansion. Beyond planetary orbit accelerating. Analysis confirmed. Human development curve exceeds safety parameters. Previous assessment of minimal threat no longer valid. Recommend implementation of Solution Protocol 7. Request clarification. Protocol 7 has not been used since the Arcturus incident. Clarification follows. The species shows unusual aggression patterns combined with rapid adaptation capabilities. Simulation models show 87% probability of direct conflict with Confederation interests within 1 century if allowed to achieve interstellar capability. Understood. Requesting formal approval from the Council for Protocol 7. Council approval already obtained. Begin preliminary preparations. Timeline for implementation. 6 standard cycles. Maintain absolute communication security. Indigenous technology. Believed incapable of detecting our transmissions, but standard precautions apply. John read the translation again and again, trying to absorb what it meant. "They're planning something," he said to Lisa and Alan, who looked equally shocked. "Something bad." Colonel Rodriguez called an emergency meeting with all key personnel. "Based on these translations and others we've gathered, we are facing a potential extinction-level threat from an advanced non-Earth coalition that calls itself the Confederation," she said bluntly. "They believe we can't detect their communications. That gives us an advantage, possibly our only one." "What's Solution Protocol 7? Asked Frank Powell, an astrophysicist who had joined the team. Colonel Rodriguez looked grim. "Based on context from other intercepted messages, we believe it's a method to eliminate a developing species while making it appear to be a natural disaster. In our case, likely something that would wipe out most or all of human civilization." The room was silent as the implications sank in. "So what do we do?" John finally asked. "We keep listening," Colonel Rodriguez said firmly. "We gather every piece of information we can. And we prepare to defend ourselves against a threat no human has ever faced before." She looked around the room at each person. "You are now part of the most important mission in human history. Our job is to ensure humanity has a future." As the meeting broke up, John found himself standing next to Lisa. 6 standard cycles," he said quietly. "Any idea how long that gives us?" Lisa nodded grimly. "Based on timing patterns in their communications, we think a cycle is roughly equivalent to 1 Earth month." John did the quick math. "So 6 months before they try to wipe us out?" He looked out the window at the clear blue California sky, wondering if it might be one of the last peaceful days Earth would ever know. 6 months, Lisa agreed. "To save the whole world." 1 month after the discovery of the alien communications, Project Lighthouse moved to a new home. The team relocated to an underground facility in Wyoming, built decades ago as a Cold War bunker. Colonel Rodriguez said it offered better security and protection from possible alien detection. John Martinez stood in the main control room, now filled with advanced computers and communication equipment. The room buzzed with activity as 30 specialists worked around the clock. The team had grown to over 100 people, all sworn to absolute secrecy. "Any new transmissions?" Colonel Rodriguez asked as she approached John. "Yes, ma'am. 3 more in the last 24 hours. Lisa and Alan are working on them now. Colonel Rodriguez nodded. Good. We need every piece of information we can get. John followed her to the conference room where daily briefings were held. The core team gathered around the large table. Dr. Williams, Lisa Goodman, Alan Nguyen, Frank Powell, the astrophysicist, and the newest member, Eric Garcia. Eric was a former Navy SEAL who had later become an astronaut. He was built like a soldier, but had the mind of a scientist. Colonel Rodriguez had brought him in to lead what she called the response team, though nobody yet knew exactly what response would be possible against such an advanced enemy. Let's begin, Colonel Rodriguez said. Lisa, what have you learned? From the new transmissions? Lisa stood and displayed images on the wall screen. We've identified 3 distinct alien species in what they call the Galactic Confederation. They refer to themselves as the Corvin, the Phalanx, and the Lyrax. She showed artist renderings based on descriptions found in the transmissions. The Corvin appear to be the military force. The Phalanx are their scientists and planners. The Lyrax seem to handle diplomacy and possibly ethics. Alan took over. We've also confirmed our worst fears about Protocol 7. They plan to redirect a cluster of asteroids to hit Earth, causing what they call a natural extinction event. This would eliminate most life on Earth while allowing them to maintain what they call plausible deniability with other spacefaring civilizations. The room was silent as the team absorbed this information. Frank Powell spoke next. I've been analyzing their discussions about the asteroid plan. They're talking about objects currently in the Kuiper Belt beyond Neptune. They plan to use gravity devices to alter their course slightly, putting them on a collision path with Earth. How much time do we have? Eric asked. Based on the latest transmissions, they're still in the planning phase, Frank replied. They need to position their ships near the target asteroids first. That gives us maybe 4 more months before the asteroids begin moving toward Earth. And do we have any way to stop them? Colonel Rodriguez asked the question everyone was thinking. Not with our current technology, Frank admitted. If the asteroids reach a certain point, Earth's gravity will do the rest. We don't have weapons that could destroy objects of that size in space. Dr. Williams cleared her throat. There might be another option. Tell them about what you found, Lisa. Lisa nodded. We've detected what appears to be disagreement among the aliens. The Lyrax have expressed concerns about wiping out an entire species. They suggested alternatives, but were outvoted by the Corvin and Phalanx. So one group might be sympathetic to us? Eric asked. Possibly, Lisa said. They seem to have a different ethical code. They argued that humans should be given a chance to join the Confederation rather than being eliminated. That's something we can use, Colonel Rodriguez said. Keep monitoring for any more signs of this division. The meeting continued as each specialist reported their findings. John listened carefully, trying to find hope in the grim situation. After the meeting, Eric approached John in the hallway. I hear you were the first to detect their signals, Eric said. John nodded. Just luck, really. I was testing a new receiver system. Not luck, Eric corrected. Good observation skills. We need people like you for what's coming next. What is coming next? John asked. Eric lowered his voice. Between us, I'm assembling a team for a possible space mission. If we can't stop the asteroids from Earth, we might need to try something in space. But we don't have ships that could reach the Kuiper Belt quickly enough, John said. Eric smiled slightly. You'd be surprised what secret projects exist. Colonel Rodriguez has pulled some strings with the military. I can't say more right now, but we might have options we haven't discussed publicly yet. Before John could ask more questions, Dr. Williams called him over to help with a new transmission that was coming in. The next few weeks passed in a blur of activity. The team continued to intercept and decode more alien communications, building a clearer picture of the threat they faced. One evening, Dr. Olivia Martinez, a xenobiologist who had joined the team, made an important discovery. She burst into the control room where John was working. I found something, she said excitedly. The aliens have been discussing their biology in some medical transmissions. I think I've identified potential weaknesses. Word spread quickly, and soon the core team gathered again. The Confederation species all evolved in environments with lower radiation levels than Earth, Olivia explained. Their ships are heavily shielded against radiation. In several transmissions, they mentioned concerns about radiation exposure during the mission. Could we use that somehow? Colonel Rodriguez asked. Possibly, Olivia said. If we could disrupt their shields or expose them to targeted radiation, it might force them to retreat. It wouldn't destroy them, but it could buy us time. This information energized the team. For the first time, they had found a potential weakness in their seemingly all-powerful enemy. Meanwhile, Karen Chun, a quantum physicist, had been studying the aliens' communication system. She requested an urgent meeting with Colonel Rodriguez and the core team. Their ships use quantum entanglement for instant communication across vast distances, Karen explained. It's technology we've only begun to develop, but I understand the theory. I believe we could create a disruption field that would essentially jam their communications. Without communication, their fleet couldn't coordinate the asteroid operation, Eric noted. Exactly, Karen said. We'd need to build a device that could generate the disruption field and get it close enough to their fleet. Which brings us back to a space mission, Eric said, glancing at Colonel Rodriguez, who nodded. It's time to brief the team on Operation Starfall, Colonel Rodriguez announced. The President has authorized the use of 3 experimental spacecraft that have been developed in secret over the past decade. They're faster and more advanced than anything the public knows about. She displayed images of sleek black ships unlike any NASA craft John had seen before. These ships can reach the Kuiper Belt in weeks rather than years, using a propulsion system I'm not at liberty to fully explain. Eric will command the mission with a crew of 12 specialists. John looked around the room, seeing hope beginning to replace fear on people's faces. But before we launch a potentially hostile mission, Colonel Rodriguez continued, Daniel White has a suggestion we should consider. Daniel was a diplomatic specialist who had been analyzing the aliens' culture and communication styles. I believe we should attempt to contact the Lyrax faction directly, Daniel said. If they already have ethical concerns about the extinction plan, they might be willing to help us. At minimum, we could create division among the Confederation forces. And how do we contact them? Dr. Williams asked. Daniel smiled. We use their own communication system against them. We know their frequencies and have broken their encryption. We send them a message saying, in effect, we've been listening, and we'd like to talk. The room fell silent as people considered the boldness of this plan. It would reveal that we know about their plans, John pointed out. Yes, Daniel agreed. But they'll discover that anyway once we take action. This gives us a chance for a diplomatic solution first, with the military option as backup. Colonel Rodriguez thought for a moment, then nodded. I'll take this to the President. Both options should be prepared, the diplomatic approach and operation. Starfall. As the meeting ended, John felt a strange mix of fear and hope. In just 2 months, he had gone from a routine job monitoring space signals to being part of humanity's desperate fight for survival. We have a chance, Lisa said quietly as she joined him. A small one, but it's more than we had a month ago. John nodded. They thought we couldn't hear them. That was their first mistake. Let's make sure it's their last, Lisa replied. President Rebecca Taylor sat at the head of the table in the White House Situation Room. Around her were the Joint Chiefs of Staff, the National Security Advisor, and Colonel Rodriguez, who had just finished briefing them on Project Lighthouse's findings and recommendations. The room was silent as the President considered the options. After what seemed like an eternity, she spoke. So our choices are to attempt communication with the potentially friendly alien faction or launch a preemptive mission to disrupt their fleet before they can redirect the asteroids. We recommend both, Madam President, Colonel Rodriguez said. We prepare Operation Starfall while simultaneously attempting diplomatic contact with the Lyrax either way. We reveal that we've been listening to their communications. President. Taylor nodded slowly. Very well. You have authorization for both approaches. When can we send the first message? Immediately, Madam President. Daniel White has prepared it, and Lisa Goodman has translated it into the mathematical language the aliens use. Do it, the President ordered, back at the Wyoming facility. John Martinez watched nervously as Daniel and Lisa made final adjustments to the message. It would be transmitted using the same frequency and encryption method the aliens used, which would immediately alert them that humans had broken their security. Ready? Daniel asked. Lisa nodded. Send it, Colonel Rodriguez ordered. Lisa pressed a key, and the message was sent into space. The room was silent, everyone staring at the monitors as if they expected an immediate response. Now we wait, Daniel said. Based on their communication patterns, it could be hours or days before we get a response. If we get one at all, Eric added. The wait was shorter than anyone expected. Just 4 hours later, Alan Nguyen detected an incoming transmission on the same frequency. We've got something, he called out. The team gathered around as he and Lisa worked to decode it. It's from the Lyrax, Lisa confirmed after a few minutes. They're requesting direct communication. What does that mean? John asked. I think they want to talk in real time, not just exchange messages, Daniel said. This is good. It means they're interested. Over the next 2 days, a series of messages went back and forth. The Lyrax revealed that they had indeed been arguing against the extinction plan but had been overruled by the other species. They were intrigued that humans had detected and decoded their transmissions, something no other pre-integration species had ever accomplished. Then came the bombshell. A small Lyrax ship requested permission to enter Earth orbit for face-to-face talks. President Taylor convened an emergency meeting with world leaders, carefully explaining the situation without causing panic. They agreed to allow the ship to approach, but with military forces on high alert. 3 days later, the Lyrax ship entered orbit. It was small, about the size of a bus, with a sleek design unlike any human spacecraft. It maintained its position, making no aggressive moves. A final message came. The Lyrax wished to send a representative to meet with human leaders. They would come unarmed and alone. The meeting was set at a remote military base in Nevada. President Taylor, Colonel Rodriguez, and the core lighthouse team waited as the small craft descended from the Lyrax ship and landed gently on the runway. The door opened, and the first confirmed alien in human history stepped onto Earth soil. The Lyrax stood about 5 feet tall, with pale blue skin and large, expressive eyes. Its body was slender, with 4 arms and 2 legs. It wore what appeared to be a protective suit, likely shielding it from Earth's radiation and atmosphere. I greet you on behalf of the Lyrax Council, it said, its words translated through a device it carried. You may call me Ambassador, if that helps with your language. President Taylor stepped forward. We welcome you to Earth, Ambassador. I am President Rebecca Taylor, leader of the United States and representative of Earth's nations for this meeting. The ambassador bowed slightly. I must first confirm you have been monitoring Confederation communications? Yes, President Taylor replied honestly. We discovered your transmissions about 3 months ago and decoded them. Impressive, Ambassador said. No other species at your development stage has accomplished this. It is why I am here. There is something you should know. The asteroid operation has already begun. A wave of shock passed through the human group. The Corvin and Phalanx accelerated their timeline when they detected unusual activity around your planets, space monitoring stations. They suspected you might have detected them, though they considered it unlikely. How long do we have? Colonel Rodriguez asked. The first asteroids were moved 2 days ago. They will reach Earth in approximately 90 days. Can you stop them? President Taylor asked. Ambassador made a gesture that might have been regret. No, I represent a minority faction among the Lyrax. We disagree with the extinction plan, but we do not have the authority or capability to countermand a Confederation Council decision. Then why are you here? Eric asked bluntly. To offer assistance, Ambassador replied. We cannot stop the plan directly, but we can provide you with technology and information that might help you defend yourselves. Why would you do that? Daniel asked. The Confederation was formed to guide developing species, not exterminate them, Ambassador explained. The decision to implement Protocol 7 against Earth violated our founding principles. Many Lyracs believe this action is wrong. By helping you, we hope to reform the Confederation from within. Over the next days, Ambassador shared critical information. The Confederation fleet operated from a hidden base in the Kuiper Belt. Their ships used an advanced form of propulsion based on gravity manipulation. And most importantly, their quantum communication system had a weakness that Karen-chan had correctly identified. In return, Ambassador studied human culture and society, seeming particularly interested in Earth's diversity of cultures, languages, and ways of thinking. This is remarkable, Ambassador told John during one session. Most species develop a unified culture before reaching space. Your diversity makes you unpredictable to the Confederation analysts. They cannot model your likely responses because you have so many possible responses. Is that why they see us as a threat? John asked. Partly, Ambassador confirmed. They fear what they cannot predict. The Corvin and Phalanx prefer order and conformity. Your species embraces chaos and change. Meanwhile, Operation Starfall continued preparations. The three secret spacecraft were moved to a launch facility in the desert. Karen-chan worked with a team of engineers to develop the quantum disruption device based on Ambassador's technical information. Kevin Foster, NASA's top engineer, collaborated with Ambassador to adapt Lyrac's technology for Earth's defense systems. They focused on two approaches: detecting the incoming asteroids earlier than Earth technology would allow, and developing a method to deflect them. Eric selected his crew for the mission, including Olivia Martinez for her knowledge of alien biology. And to everyone's surprise, John Martinez. Why me? John asked when Eric told him, I'm not an astronaut or a soldier. Because you noticed the signal that no one else did, Eric explained. You see patterns others miss? We need that skill. As the days passed, tension grew. The world governments maintained secrecy about the alien threat to prevent panic, but preparations for possible asteroid impacts were disguised as civil defense drills. At the 1-month mark, Ambassador provided confirmation, long-range Lyracs. Sensors had detected the asteroids on their new course toward Earth. They were coming, just as feared. We're running out of time, Colonel Rodriguez told the team. Operation Starfall launches in 1 week. This is humanity's best hope. John looked at the countdown clock on the wall of the control room. 60 days until impact. 2 months to save. The world! We can do this, Lisa said, standing next to him. We have to. John nodded, thinking about how far they had come since that night when he noticed an unusual pattern in the static. They thought we couldn't hear them, and they thought we couldn't fight back. They were wrong on both counts. The desert air was cool in the pre-dawn darkness. John Martinez stood with the rest of the Operation Starfall crew, staring at the 3 spacecraft that would carry them into the most important mission in human history. The ships were unlike anything the public had ever seen. They were black, sleek, and shaped like arrowheads. Their official names were boring government designations, but the crews had given them better names: Hope, Defender, and Guardian. Still nervous? Lisa Goodman asked, standing beside John. She wasn't part of the flight crew but had come to see them off. Terrified, John admitted. A few months ago, I was just a guy who listened to space static. Now I'm about to fly to the edge of the solar system to stop an alien invasion. You'll do great, Lisa said. She hugged him quickly. Come back safe. The 12 crew members were divided among the 3 ships. John would fly on Hope with Eric Garcia as commander, Olivia Martinez as science officer, and Richard Patel as pilot. Ambassador stood nearby, watching the preparations with those large alien eyes. The Lyracs had provided critical technical information about the Confederation fleet and the locations of the redirected asteroids. Your ships have been enhanced with our sensor technology, Ambassador told Eric. You should be able to detect the Confederation vessels before they detect you. And the quantum disruption device? Eric asked. Karen-chan has built it correctly. Ambassador confirmed. When activated, it will prevent the Confederation ships from communicating with each other. Their coordination will break down. President Taylor arrived for a brief ceremony before launch. She spoke to each crew member, thanking them for their courage. "The world doesn't know what you're doing today," she told them, "but the survival of our species depends on your success. Godspeed and good luck." The boarding call came at exactly 0500 hours. John took one last look at the desert and the brightening sky before climbing the ladder into Hope. The interior was cramped but efficient. 4 acceleration couches faced a central command console. The walls were lined with equipment, much of it modified with Lyrax technology. "Strap in," Eric ordered as they took their positions. "This ride will be rough at first." John secured his harness and tried to control his breathing. Through the small window, he could see the other 2 ships, their crews boarding. "All systems check," Richard reported from the pilot's seat. "We are go for launch." "Hope to control," Eric said into his headset. "Ready for departure." "Control to Hope," Colonel Rodriguez's voice came through the speakers. "You are cleared for launch. Good hunting." The engine started with a deep rumble that John felt in his bones. The ship vibrated, then lifted smoothly off the ground. The acceleration pushed John back into his seat as Hope shot upward into the dawn sky. In minutes, they were above the atmosphere. The sky turned from blue to black, and stars appeared all around them. "Switching to main drive," Richard announced. There was a moment of silence. Then a strange sensation, as if the ship had somehow stepped sideways out of reality for a split second. John's stomach lurched. "What was that?" he asked. "The gravity drive," Olivia explained. "It creates a localized distortion in space-time. We're not exactly moving through space the way conventional rockets do." "Is it safe?" John asked. "Safe enough," Eric replied with a slight smile. "It's been tested dozens of times, usually without people aboard, but the principle is sound." That's reassuring," John muttered. "Defender and Guardian report successful transition to gravity drive," Richard announced. "Formation is stable." "Oh." "Systems nominal." "Set course for the first checkpoint," Eric ordered. "Let's go save the world." The journey to the outer solar system would take 18 days. In a conventional spacecraft, it would have taken years. The 3 ships maintained formation, their gravity drives propelling them far faster than any publicly known human technology could achieve. Life aboard was routine but tense. They exercised, ate, slept, and reviewed their mission plans. John's job was to monitor communications and detect any unusual patterns. The same skill that had started this whole adventure. On day 12, John picked up something on the enhanced sensors. "I've got unusual readings," he reported, consistent with what Ambassador described as Confederation communication signals. Eric looked over his shoulder at the display. "Good catch. They're still far away, but we're definitely picking up their fleet." "Olivia, what can you tell us?" Olivia studied the data. "Based on the signal strength and pattern, I'd estimate 20 to 30 vessels. They're clustered near what must be the asteroid field they're redirecting." "Can they detect us?" Eric asked. "Not yet," Olivia said. "Our ships are too small and the gravity drive doesn't leave an energy signature they would recognize. We should be able to get much closer before they notice us." "Perfect," Eric said. "We'll drop out of gravity drive at checkpoint Delta, then approach using minimal power. Richard, alert the other ships." 3 days later, they reached checkpoint Delta. The ships slowed and switched to conventional engines. Through the viewports, they could see distant points of light that were not stars, the Confederation fleet. "Asteroid cluster confirmed," Olivia reported, looking at her instruments. "Multiple large objects on course for Earth. Current trajectory will bring them into Earth's gravity well in approximately 45 days. "Can we see the alien ships?" John asked. "Enhancing image now," Richard said, adjusting the viewport display. The view zoomed in, showing strange vessels unlike anything humans had built. They were massive compared to the human ships, with odd bulges and protrusions. They surrounded the asteroids, using energy beams to make small adjustments to their paths. They're fine-tuning the trajectories, Olivia explained, ensuring maximum impact coverage of Earth's surface. Have they detected us yet? Eric asked. John checked his instruments. No unusual communications. They're still talking to each other normally. No alert signals. Then it's time, Eric said. Prepare the quantum disruption device. Alert Guardian and Defender to move into position. The next few hours were tense as the three human ships carefully maneuvered around the edge of the asteroid field, staying out of direct sight of the alien vessels. They positioned themselves in a triangular formation that would maximize the effect of the disruption field. All ships in position, Richard confirmed. Power levels optimal for the disruption device, Olivia added. Eric took a deep breath. This is it. Once we activate the device, we'll be visible to them. We'll have a short window to implement Phase 2 before they can organize a response. He opened a channel to all three ships. This is Commander Garcia. In approximately 1 minute, we will activate the quantum disruption field. When Confederation communications go down, Guardian will deploy the deflection charges on the asteroids. Defender will provide cover if needed. Hope will maintain the disruption field. Good luck to all. John looked at the timer counting down on his display. 30 seconds, 2010. Activating now, Olivia announced, pressing a sequence of controls. For a moment, nothing seemed to happen. Then John's communication display lit up with chaotic signals. It's working, he exclaimed. Their communication network is breaking down. They're trying to re-establish contact, but the signals are bouncing back or going nowhere. Guardian reports they're moving in to place the deflection charges, Richard said. Defender is standing by. On the viewport display, they could see the Confederation ships moving erratically. Some were turning toward the human vessels, finally detecting them. Others seemed to be trying to contact each other, unaware that their communications were being scrambled. Confederation ships are powering weapons, Olivia warned. But they can't coordinate their fire without communications. How long until Guardian completes their mission? Eric asked. They need 15 more minutes to place all the charges, Richard replied. Eric nodded grimly. Then we hold this position for 15 minutes. No matter what. The first energy beam from a Confederation ship flashed past them, missing by a wide margin. More followed, but without coordination, the alien attacks were ineffective. They're trying to regroup, John reported, watching the patterns of ship movements. But without communication, they can't organize a proper attack. Guardian reports 5 charges placed, Richard announced. 10 more to go. Outside the space? The battle continued. The human ships were vastly outgunned, but the Confederation fleet was in disarray. It was working just as they had hoped. This might actually work, John said quietly, almost afraid to believe it. It will work, Eric replied. Firmly, it has to. Guardian completed its mission with just seconds to spare. The last deflection charge was placed as 3 Confederation ships closed in on the small human vessel. All charges placed. Richard announced excitedly, Guardian is pulling back now. Defender. Reports they've held off 2 direct attacks, Olivia added. Minor damage, but systems still functional? Eric nodded. Tell them to fall back to safe distance. Prepare to detonate the charges on my mark. The 3 human ships retreated to a predetermined safe position. The Confederation fleet was still in disarray, but they were beginning to adapt to the communication blackout. Several ships had formed a defensive cluster. They're using visual signals now, John observed. Simple light patterns? They're trying to coordinate without quantum communications. Then we need to act fast, Eric said. Status of the deflection charges? All green, Olivia confirmed, ready for detonation. Eric opened the channel to all 3 ships. This is Commander Garcia, detonation in 3, 2, 1, down now. Olivia pressed the activation control. In the viewport, they watched as multiple flashes of light erupted across the asteroid field. The charges weren't designed to destroy the asteroids. That would have required far more power than the small ships could generate. Instead, they created precisely calculated explosions that would alter the asteroids' trajectories, Did it work? John asked anxiously. Olivia studied her instruments. Initial readings look good. The asteroids are shifting course. But we need more detailed calculations to confirm they'll miss Earth. A sudden blast rocked the Hope, throwing John against his. Harness, we're hit, Richard called out. Port engine damaged. Confederation ships are rallying, John reported. They've figured out enough visual signals to coordinate attacks. Eric made a quick decision. We've done our job here. Set course for home, maximum speed. Richard, can Hope make it? Richard checked his systems. The gravity drive is still functional. We can make it, but it won't be a smooth ride. Guardian and Defender acknowledge retreat order, Olivia said. They're covering our withdrawal. The 3 human ships turned and accelerated away from the asteroid field and the Confederation fleet. Several alien vessels pursued, but without their full communication capabilities. They couldn't organize an effective chase. Once they were a safe distance away, the ships engaged their gravity drives. The familiar strange sensation washed over John as Hope stepped sideways through space-time. We're clear, Richard announced. Heading back to Earth? The journey home was tense. Hope's damaged engine made the ship vibrate constantly. Emergency. Repairs kept them moving, but everyone knew they were limping home. How long until we know if the deflection worked? John asked Olivia on the 3rd day of their return journey. I've been running calculations with the data we gathered, she replied. It looks promising. The new trajectories should take most of the asteroids past Earth rather than into it, but a few smaller ones might still hit. Still better than the extinction event they planned, John said. Much better, Olivia agreed. Instead of a global catastrophe, we might be looking at a few isolated impacts. And with early warning, we can evacuate those areas. When they were 3 days from Earth, a message came through from Colonel Rodriguez. Operation Starfall, this is Control. Ambassador has confirmed with Lyrax long-range sensors that the asteroid deflection was successful. 14 of the 15 major bodies have been confirmed on new trajectories that will miss Earth. One smaller asteroid is still on course, but atmospheric defenses should be able to handle it. Well done, the world owes you a debt it doesn't even know about yet. A cheer went up in the cramped cabin of Hope. Eric allowed himself a smile before returning to his serious commander face. We're not home yet, he reminded them. And we still have the Confederation to deal with. But when Hope, Defender, and Guardian finally reached Earth orbit, they found something unexpected waiting for them. 5 Lyrax ships. Control to operation. Starfall, Colonel Rodriguez's voice came through. Don't be alarmed by the Lyrax vessels. They're friendly. A lot has happened while you were away. After landing, the crews were taken directly to the White House for debriefing. President Taylor greeted them personally, along with Ambassador and 3 other Lyrax representatives. Welcome back, heroes, President Taylor said. Thanks to your mission and some unexpected developments, the situation has changed dramatically, Ambassador stepped forward. When we learned of your successful mission, we transmitted evidence of the Corvin and Phalanx's planned genocide to the full Lyrax Council and other spacefaring civilizations. The response was immediate and overwhelming. One of the new Lyrax spoke. This one wore elaborate garments that suggested higher rank. I am Elder Trowel of the Lyrax High Council. What the Corvin and Phalanx attempted violates our most sacred principles. The Confederation was created to guide developing species, not exterminate them. The full Lyrax fleet has moved to protect Earth, Ambassador added, and representatives from 7 other spacefaring civilizations have arrived to witness and support. The Corvin and Phalanx have been forced to withdraw. John looked at Lisa, who had joined them for the debriefing. Is this real? He whispered. We actually won? It gets better, Lisa whispered back. Keep listening, Elder Trowel continued. In light of humanity's extraordinary accomplishment, detecting and decoding our supposedly secure communications, then successfully defending against a vastly superior force, the galactic community has recognized Earth as a full spacefaring civilization, with rights under galactic law effective immediately. President Taylor nodded. We've begun establishing formal diplomatic relations with the Lyrax and other friendly species. Ambassador has agreed to remain on Earth as the permanent Lyrax representative. And the Confederation? Eric asked. The Confederation as it existed is finished, Elder Trowel said. The Lyrax have withdrawn from the Alliance. The Corvin and Phalanx have been sanctioned by the wider galactic community. They will not threaten Earth again. In the days that followed, John tried to adjust to the new reality. The world governments had decided to release the truth gradually to prevent panic. The first step was announcing the discovery of non-terrestrial intelligence and establishing diplomatic relations. 1 month after their return, John stood with Lisa at a ceremony establishing the new Department of Interstellar Relations. Maria Foster, who had worked closely with Ambassador, was named as its first secretary. Hard to believe it all started with you noticing a weird pattern in some space static, Lisa said, squeezing his hand. John smiled. I was just doing my job. The real heroes were people like you who figured out what it meant. We all played our parts, she replied. And we saved the world, Ambassador approached them. John Martinez, Lisa Goodman. The Lyrax Council has asked me to extend an invitation. We would like you both to join a cultural exchange program. Humans studying Lyrax society and Lyrax studying humans. You would be among the first humans to visit another world. John and Lisa looked at each other in amazement. I think we'd be honored, John said. 5 years later, John stood at a podium as the new director of the Interspecies Communication Division. Behind him was a monument commemorating the day humans first detected alien communications. The plaque read, they thought they were being careful by talking behind our backs. Turns out eavesdropping is a very human skill, and it saved our species. Earth was now a recognized member of the galactic community. Human ships built with a combination of Earth and alien technology were exploring the solar system and beyond. The first permanent human settlement on Mars had been established with Lyrax assistance. The small asteroid that had hit Earth had struck an uninhabited area of the Pacific Ocean, causing minimal damage. It now served as a reminder of how close humanity had come to extinction. As John finished his speech at the anniversary celebration, he saw Ambassador and Lisa in the audience. They had returned from a diplomatic mission to the Lyrax homeworld just days before. The aliens schemed to wipe us out, John concluded, but humans overheard it all. And in doing so, we found our place among the stars. The crowd applauded, and John stepped down from the podium to join his friends, both human and alien, in celebrating not just humanity's survival, but its bright future among the stars.